Alliance Church. Reverend Moore is Drew's youth pastor, and he's going to lead us in the invocation.
Let me say congratulations, Drew. Thanks for inviting me to come today. It's a privilege for me. I owe Drew my survival on a weekend campout. I was on a campout in Groton State Park with a patrol from this troop that I'll not mention who I don't know whether they were trying to conserve monies for the weekend or whether it was some kind of ordeal weekend for them, but their idea of meals were romaine soups and peanut butter and jelly and more romaine soup. We kind of wondered if maybe we were going to have the same thing for breakfast too. And I think Drew was kind of watching out for me. He was kind of walking by a couple of times and saw us really eating romaine soup over and over again. And he pointed me to another patrol that was serving juicy hamburger or cheeseburgers and all the fixings. And I think it was probably Saturday dinner when he finally pointed me there. Thank you. I appreciate it. Helping me to survive the weekend. Let me read from Isaiah chapter 40. It says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint." Let's pray together. Father, I thank you for today, for what we celebrate with Drew and his accomplishments as an Eagle Scout. Thank you for the influences in his life that have brought him to this point. And I pray that you would go before him as he takes on the rank and privilege of being called an Eagle Scout, and that you would guide him and direct him. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Reverend Moore. Now, John Shadurgeon, the Senior Patrol Leader for the troop, and the Honor Guard will present the colors.
Please rise. Color Guard, advance. Color Guard, present the colors. Scout salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color Guard, post the colors. Color Guard dismissed. You may be seated.
All right, as many of you know, and will be briefed a little bit more in detail about, Drew is a member of a barbershop quartet, and they're known as the Hatchets, and they're going to present America the Beautiful for you right now.
Yeah, I threw my voice out yesterday, so I won't be through. Justin was nice enough to step in.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God
an Eagle Scout is a very long and arduous process, and Andrew took a good 8 years to finish it up, but he did it with style and panache that you rarely see with many people. So this afternoon we are here to honor him, and first I would like to introduce some guests. Lori Douglas, the chorus teacher from the school. If you could please rise when I thank you. Is the Lieutenant Governor still here? No, I think he's dropping his daughter off at rugby or some other such thing. Mr. and Mrs. Carlisle, and Drew's grandparents, Pat and Art Hanglin. Thank you. So, let us get straight down to business. The first thing that we're going to do this afternoon is have Jim Nicholson, Ben Weeks, and Star Scout Joe Cogley come up and present the Scout Law.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the Scout law. Help other people at all times to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Note that the Boy Scout oath has traditionally been considered to have 3 promises. These 3 promises are duty to God and country, duty to other people, and duty to self. Duty to God and country. Your family and your religious leaders teach you to know and to serve God. By following these teachings, you do your duty to God. Duty to other people. Many people need help. A cheery smile and a helping hand make life easier for others. By doing a good turn daily and helping when you're needed, you prove yourself a scout and do your part to make this a better world. Duty to self. Keeping yourself physically strong means taking care of your body, eating the right foods, and building your strength. Staying mentally awake means learning all you can. Be curious and ask questions. Being morally straight means to live your life with honesty and to be clean in your speech and actions, and to be a person of strong character.
A scout is trustworthy. A scout tells the truth, he is honest, and keeps his promises. People can depend on him.
A scout is loyal. A scout is true to his family, friends, scout leaders, school, and nation.
A scout is helpful. A scout cares about other people. He willingly volunteers to help others without expecting payment or reward.
A scout is friendly. A scout is a friend to all. He is a brother to all his fellow scouts.
A scout is courteous. A scout is polite to everyone. He knows that using good manners makes it easier for people to get along.
A scout is kind. A scout knows there is strength in being gentle. He treats others as he wants to be treated. Without good reason, he does not harm or kill any living thing.
A scout is obedient. A scout follows the rules of his family, school, and troop. He obeys the laws of his community and country. If he thinks the rules and laws are unfair, he tries to have them changed in an orderly manner rather than disobeying them.
A scout is cheerful. A scout looks for the bright side of life. He cheerfully does tasks that come his way. He tries to make others happy in the process.
A scout is thrifty. A scout works to pay his own way and to help others. He saves for the future. He protects and conserves natural resources and carefully uses his time and property.
A scout is brave. A scout can face danger, although he is afraid. He has the courage to stand for what he thinks is right, even if others laugh at him or threaten.
A scout is clean. A scout keeps his body and mind fit and clean. He chooses the company of those who live by high standards. He helps keep his home and his community clean.
A scout is reverent. A scout is reverent toward God. He is faithful in his religious duties. He respects the beliefs of others.
This is the voice of the eagle whose heights you struggled hard to reach. We remember well when you first came to the base of the cliff and how you looked up with ambition and determination. Look back for a moment. Look back over the cliff you have climbed. Look back at the experiences you have encountered in your ascent. These experiences should not be forgotten, and you should profit by making sure that the adverse ones do not occur again. Experience is a valuable teacher if you will heed its teachings. You remember when you took your first steps upon the trail that leads upward. With your first steps, you began to start living the Scout Oath and Law. All the while you were on the trail, we watched you study, and then we watched you learn by doing. First, you were only a candidate, building yourself physically, mentally, and morally. Then your brother scouts called you a tenderfoot, and they were right. You were, indeed, a tenderfoot. But not for long, for soon you reached the first ledge, and there you were greeted by a group of second-class scouts. Some, like yourself, were stopping to catch their breaths before continuing along the trail. You began to study more, you worked harder, and almost before you knew it, you came to another ledge, the ledge where first-class scouts dwell. There you found a tempting green meadow by a crystal-clear stream bathed by the sun. Here you were tempted to remain. Yes, you could have remained there to live in first-class glory, but your ambitions stirred you on. We next remember your progress when you became a Star Scout. You found the trail from first class had been an optical illusion. It was not as difficult as it had seemed. This spurred you on, and again you climbed further. Now the trail was steeper. Now it was less worn. Fewer scouts seemed to be heading in your direction. You looked back and saw the crowds below you. You looked up and saw the few above you. And with the same determination with which you started your climb, you continued on your trail. Soon it was the badge of Life Scout, the heart badge that was placed on your uniform. You will never forget the thoughts in your heart. It has been experienced by most scouts on reaching the ledge of life. Now I am close to the eagle. I will carry on.
Thank you, Ed. As many of you know, how many times can I say that today? As many of you know, one of the very last things that a Life Scout needs to do before he finishes his Eagle Scout rank is to do an Eagle project. And Drew actually made a really cool set of lockers over at the school to be used by people who need to leave their instruments in the school. He has met the other requirements for Eagle as well, and says that he will continue to serve the community, and I happen to believe him. There is a lot more to being an Eagle Scout, however, than just earning a lot of merit badges and finishing a project. It says something really about who you are, or who at least you ought to be. And here to give Drew the Eagle charge today, there are two of our assistant scoutmasters, Scott Turnbull and Bob Cockrell.
At this time, I'd like to ask all the other Eagle Scouts in the audience to stand and be recognized. Drew, Scouts of all nations make up one of the most wholesome and significant movements in the world's history. You have been judged by the Boy Scouts of America as being worthy of honor. All who know you rejoice in your achievement. This award, as you will know, is one of honor and responsibility. As an Eagle Scout, you are a marked man. You have assumed a solemn obligation to do your duty to God, to country, your fellow scouts, and to mankind in general. This is a great undertaking. As you live up to your obligations, you bring honor to yourself and to your brother scouts.
America has many good things to give you and your children after you, but these good things depend, for the most part, on the quality of our citizens. Our country has had a great past. You can help make the future ever greater. I charge you to undertake your citizenship with a solemn dedication. Be a leader, but lead only toward the best. Lift up every task you do and every office you hold to the highest level of service to God and to your fellow man.
So live and serve, that those who know you will be inspired to find a living. I charge you to be among those who dedicate their hearts, hands, skills, and abilities to the common good. Help to build America's future by continuing to set an example of clean living, honest work, unselfish citizenship, and reverence for God, whatever others may do. You will leave behind you a record of which you may be justly proud.
Drew, I charge you to enter this Eagle Scout Brotherhood, holding without reservation and ever before you the ideals of honor and service. When you pledge yourself on your sacred honor, you will be sealing your eternal loyalty to the code of the Eagle Scout.
Will Scoutmaster John Sonic and Senior Patrol Leader John Chadurjan please rise and present your award.
I'd also like to ask Mr. Mauger, Drew's first Scoutmaster, to come forward and do this. As with all ranks, becoming an Eagle Scout, you get a couple of things. Actually, you get a couple more things here than you would for any other rank advancement. So what I will do is first I will ask JC just to kind of hold on to that. So really, excellent. All right. Oh, yeah. All right. First, I just wanted to go through what the different parts of this badge are, because a lot of people in the troop would know it because, well, you have to get your first rank. But a lot of the people in the audience might not. This, at the very top, is a scroll, and on the scroll it says, "Be prepared." Be prepared is the motto of the Boy Scouts. The reason that the scroll is upturned on each end is because not only are you supposed to be prepared, but you are supposed to do a good turn daily, and you're supposed to do it happily. And that is supposed to remind you to do it happily. It's supposed to look like the ends of a smile. This here is a knot. The knot is supposed to remind you to do your good turn daily. It is as if you had the knot going around your... I explain this to the kids, and they think I'm crazy. Like, well, get a PDA or something. You know, what are you doing tying a knot around your finger? And then we have the red, white, and blue. Obviously, symbols, a lot of people think, oh, those are the colors of the United States. Red, white, and blue are actually, generally speaking, the colors of any Republican form of government. Not meaning the party Republican, but a republic where you have, lots of people voting for representatives who will then go make decisions for them. And then finally the eagle, the symbol of the badge itself. I would actually like to ask Mr. and Mrs. Carlisle to come up, because as much as I have had fun with Drew, and as much as Mr. Mauger has had fun, and we have tried to help him and boot him along, there is no one who has given him more than his parents. So if, oh, I actually need to grab that. Mr. Mauger, could you just get the things in there? Mrs. Carlisle, go ahead. Oh, we need the passwords on All right, now, not only does Drew get something, he will also get a neat patch that you can all see here. I've got one, a couple people around have one. We're not actually going to sew it on you right now, but you'll get that. However, because the parents have done so much, we do have something for them as well. And if you could please present your parents with the mother's pin and the father's tie tag. final symbol that you can actually see from quite a distance. It's really easy to tell an Eagle Scout from a distance. Because it's hard to see the patch on front, but it's very easy to see the red, white, and blue from far away. John, since you are the senior patrol leader of the troop, and this is a gift from the troop to our new Eagle Scout, if you could please do the honors. For everybody, I present to you Eagle Scout Drew Carlisle. Oh, Mrs. Carlisle, don't you go anywhere. Becoming an Eagle Scout is a very long process. No one is perfect, not even Drew. In spite of the fact that I tell the boys that I'm perfect, they know I'm lying every time they open the door. And because of the fact that no one is perfect, over the course of a Scout's history, they will create stories. There will be stories to be told by lots of people. And the first people that we're going to hear from this evening, or this afternoon, are Mr. and Mrs. Carlisle.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming today. And Drew, I know you felt awkward about today. It's like the world's upside down. You go from a time when the custom is to be for humility, but today it's upside down. But it gives us a great opportunity to reflect on how you reached Eagle and how you grew up in a wonderful community. And the adults, the Scouts past and present, friends and teachers, they've all had an influence on you arriving at this occasion. And we'd like to speak about what Scouts has given to Drew and the gifts of the Scouting program have been. But first we want to talk about Troop 635. You really helped to make the Scouting a positive experience for Drew. He had good experiences with adults in his troop. He learned things like that he could talk to the adults, he could make requests of them and they would respond. And you learned about all their odd quirks and that we like to have fun. The troop was a group that recognized that you were a family, were from a family and had a faith, and that you were deserving of trust. That there are right and wrong behaviors, and here within the troop, good behavior is expected. In this troop, the adults involved care about the well-being of the boys, and we want to thank you all for your dedication to Troop 635.
The Scout Oath and the Scout Law, they're part of Drew. He has integrated them into all aspects of his personality. He looks for those traits in others. They are the frameworks from which he approaches all of life. As parents, we want our children to reach for those ideals, but we are delighted when they choose them of their own decision. Glimpses of Drew's experiences with Scouts can be found in his artwork. He spent a lot of time outside with the Scouts in our beautiful state. He had the opportunity to design 3 patches for Scouts in Vermont, one of which was chosen to be the Vermont contingent patch to the 2001 National Jamboree. He had a lot of fun trading that patch at the Jamboree, asking the person receiving the patch if they would like it signed by the artist. Drew likes to paint and draw landscapes. I brought 2 with me. One is a colored pencil that he did that includes his backpack and his hiking boots. The other was an assignment for an art class in which he was to somehow represent one of the scariest moments of his lost his food. There were still 2 days left to this 50-mile Adirondack hiking hike. Scouts really are a family. They live and they work together. The others shared their food with him. Maybe they were all a little hungry, but they all had something to eat. They were a team that worked together. It was quite an experience. As to the scouting family, scouts are kind and courteous and friendly to one another. When Andrew got to high school, there were scouts from the troop already there. They spoke to him. They checked up on him. They were his friends. They helped to make that transition from middle school to high school so much easier.
You can't mention 635 without saying that it's a boy-run troop. Andrew began in this troop as a rather quiet, afraid to speak in front of others, new scout. And he watched the older boys that were in leadership positions, and he said, one day I want to be one of those older boys. He noticed that you could really do things in this troop, and that these jobs, patrol leader, senior patrol leader, they were real jobs. The years progressed, and he gained confidence and in his public speaking ability, his ability to lead, and in teaching. And if you think about it, the public speaking and performance and so forth all began as Cub Scout. This year, we've gotten to see Andrew apply to colleges. And one of his essays was actually about the year he spent as a troop guide in 635. He really liked teaching. He liked coming up with lesson plans and seeing them work. He enjoyed seeing the boys so eager to learn new things. It was fun that these young scouts actually listened to him and learned at a rapid rate. He was very proud of the fact that all of them continued in scouting the next year. Well, one of the colleges that accepted him actually wrote a note to him about how impressed they were with his leadership in scouts. And they invited him to come on campus and interview for a leadership scholarship, which they later offered to him. Well, he went down for the leadership weekend and he participated in it. And I also went and I got to hear about what took place. Well, the team building exercises that were being taught at the college level, well, in those, he found his niche because he fit right into the leading his team to victory using the exact same strategies that were honed at a camporee at the Audubon Center in Richmond. Seemed like pretty much exactly the same team building exercises as that camporee. Andrew likes to plan and he wants lots of activity. He's always scheming ahead to what more activities can I cram into this day. At the National Jamboree, he heard that President George Bush would be coming to visit. So he offered in advance to give the SPL the day off, specifically the day that George Bush would be visiting, because that would mean that he'd be on stage that night to meet Mr. Bush. Well, severe weather kept the president away, but he might come on the last day, or so they heard. So I think he altered his strategy a bit there, and he said, I'll join the choir, because the choir gets to go up on the main stage. And what it did lead to was the main stage. We get a wonderful view of the closing ceremonies, I hear, and the fireworks show. But being there, that could be turned into an opportunity to go visit the sound booth. Wouldn't it be fun to be the DJ on the largest speaker system you ever saw, with tens of thousands of people? So as the tens of thousands of people were exiting the closing ceremony, what were they doing? Well, they were listening to the musical choices of Ben Weeks and Andrew, I think.
Andrew has a gift in music and in history. He loves both. Over time, he found that he could bring these gifts to scouts and they were welcome. He was able to be the troop bugler and the troop historian. This love of history fit in with duty to God and country. Andrew will be attending Erskine College in South Carolina next year, majoring in history with a minor in music. We are very proud of what he has become. We do have a gift for him. table is a flag that flew over the U.S. Capitol on April 21st in honor of Andrew becoming an Eagle Scout. There's a Vermont state flag that flew at the Vermont State House on May 6th in his honor. And there's letters from George Bush and Senators Leahy and Jeffers. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much.
Next, we're going to have some comments from the new Eagle Scout. But before we do that, I just wanted to add a couple of my own observations about Drew. I am not known for my brevity, but I will try not to draw this out too terribly long. It's difficult when there is as much to say as I have to say. But I first met Drew, my very first camp out with this troop. We were all at Pickett's Camp. And it was a great time. And Drew was really mellow. He's just kind of chilling out. I talked to a couple of the other adults, just trying to get to remember everybody's name. And when they were pointing out Drew, they're like, yeah, there's Drew. He's laid back, cool kid. Not going to have any trouble with him. Not that we really have any trouble with anyone, except maybe Tom Cogley. And I liked that. I was like, okay, you got the cool chill thing going on, and that lasted until approximately the next meeting, when I realized that though he seemed very quiet and introspective, he had a lot to say about a lot of things. I've been in scouting now for almost 20 years, including my time as a youth, and one of the big responsibilities, one of the most important positions in the troop is troop guide. The senior patrol leader is probably, in my humble opinion, the only position that is of more importance in the troop. And the reason for that is that the troop guide is the one who develops the program and delivers the program for all the brand new boys. And whether they enjoy scouting or whether they hate scouting is going to be determined in large part by their troop guide. And we have a very fortunate history of having good troop guides. We have a lot of very skilled boys, but Andrew was completely different. Andrew actually was working with Jim Nicholson. Drew was kind of steering along, and Jim added a lot of the extra energy, because as you all know, you need a lot of energy when you're dealing with the new guys. And it is, without exception, by far the best troop guide program I've ever seen, ever. Because they developed a program, the kids love doing it, and Drew and Jim love doing it as well, and you could tell it. And that really made the first year of scouting for those new boys probably the best that it could possibly have been. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, because that is probably a harder job than senior patrol leader, because keeping the interest of that many new kids as you're trying to teach them to tie square knots or other such things, make it actually interesting and seem relevant to them somehow, is a very difficult thing to do. And he and Jim were, like I said, by far the strongest pairing I've ever seen before. Leadership did not stop there, obviously. And certainly not even within Scouts. He was the senior patrol leader for a while, and he became a junior assistant scoutmaster when he had already done everything else, and we needed to kind of move him along so that we could have other people coming up and learning how to be leaders. So he became a junior assistant scoutmaster. And outside of Scouts, he did a ton of stuff as well. He said, I would really like to be in a barbershop quartet. So we started a barbershop quartet. And it was, I love being someplace, pointing, and being very happy that I can say, I know that guy. I was at the Governor's Ball in January. I actually will never live this down because I missed a winter camp out with some of the other assistant scoutmasters and our committee chair, Sue Cogley. Because I went to this ball, but let me tell you, when Drew Carlisle and the rest of the Half Steps came out, and, oh, did you sing America the Beautiful? Or was it the Star Spangled Banner? Or both? Beautiful. America the Beautiful. And for the Governor's Ball, the four of them got up there and did an absolutely outstanding, superlative performance. It was really great. And I was so happy, I'm like, hey, he's mine. He's in my troop. He's one of my boys. I have nothing to do with him up there, but he's still mine. And another thing you can tell, I've spoken with Mr. and Mrs. Carlisle a couple of times, and they have mentioned how much he has changed. As I mentioned, when I first met him, I thought he was quiet, but apparently he really had grown out of his quiet stage most of the time. But you could still see remnants of it. But he really did get his sea legs. He really did become very confident in, shall we say, communicating with the adults, because I will never forget one PLC meeting, a Patrol Leaders Council, which is where I get together with Mr. Macy and the boy leaders in the troop, and we make decisions about what the program is going to be for the next month or the next 2 months or something like that. And it was time to make December's schedule. And we were going to go to the Rapids Edge. We had missed a couple of meetings because of weird calendar things. We'd had a Christmas tree sale meeting. So we hadn't done a whole lot of very scouty sorts of things since probably late October. And for the first meeting in December, we're talking about what to do. And Drew said, well, we should have a holiday party. And I said, well, that would be fun, but we haven't done anything meaningful for scouting in a while, so we really should consider doing something, and so let's talk about ideas. He's like, okay, yeah, we could have a party. I'm like, no, I don't think that we should do that, because he's like, okay, thanks, Sonny. So guys, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to split it up, half party, this and half? I'm like, well, no, I get a say. I understand that you're supposed to be acting independently, but I still get to say something. And from time to time, you are required to listen. And so we had a party. Anyway, this is the man you're dealing with. And it gives me great pleasure to ask him to come up and to make his comments for his Eagle report.
Thanks, Sam. Right. See, a lot of this was covered by my parents, because I didn't know what they were going to say. So I might rehash a few things, but I'll give you my 2 cents. Alright, so to begin, Boy Scouting has always been a very important part of my life, and I thank my parents for always stressing it as a priority. It's just really good to be here. My dad's an Eagle Scout, and I've always said that I wasn't going to let him be the only one in the family. For 13 years, I've been involved with the scouting program, and I've grown up with it and through it. I have to say that I felt really weird about doing this, and about having a court of honor just for me. I know everyone does it, but I want you to realize that the ceremony today is not a celebration of the person Drew Carlisle, but it's of the entire troop and all the people who brought me here today. 635's concept of a boy-run troop, and the fact that 635, we all work together as a team through PLC meetings to create a plan and come together without a lot of help from adults is just been a really fun experience for me, and I've learned a lot about leadership. We've had really good times together as a result of our doing. While I was the senior patrol leader and the troop's historian, and bugler and patrol leader, all this other jobs, I'm really proudest of my time spent as troop guy. Troop guy was really my first responsibility, and I gained a lot of life skills from the boys I worked with during my freshman year in high school. And we already spoke a lot about that. But I'd just like to say that my plan was just to make the boys a productive my patrol a self-sufficient bunch of boys in the first year. And so now I'm really proud of them. And as I leave the troop, they have all these positions of responsibility, and they're teaching the various skills, displaying the same attitudes with respect to God and country that I tried to bring on them and set an example. I'm very glad to have influenced them and hopefully had a positive effect on their lives, and I'm really proud of them today. I believe that I've grown up in a lot of ways through Scouts. These boys in this troop gave me a passion for teaching and leading, and so I thank them for this. I thank all those adults who helped me build that big lunking Eagle project and helped me rebuild it over and over again at EHS for the band department. Thank all those adults who donated their vacations for summer camps, and everyone who drove me countless miles all over New England. And I thank my scoutmasters, John Lager and Mr. Brisson and Mr. Sonic. They really used their personality to keep everybody engaged, entertained, and all involved. To all the Scouts, I appreciate growing up in the shadow of older boys, and I always admired them and tried to emulate their style. I appreciate the will of Scouts to learn and adapt and change with each year, with each change that comes upon the troop and people who leave and people who come. I thank all of you for being my friends. This troop is one tightly knit body, and you always have someone to complain to or someone to joke around with. I've become a goal setter and become very type A. And because of Scouts, I now consider myself, well, a bit of a better leader. Though all these hundreds of days and nights of camping, through all them, I know that 635 will always be a part of me. And I'm proud to be an Eagle Scout of this troop, for you've given me many lessons, experiences, and memories to last a lifetime. So thanks very much.
Troop 635 is that we have a lot of very involved people. We have a lot of involved Scouts, we have a lot of involved parents, and many of them are very good at telling stories. And so I would like to offer anyone who would like to tell a story about Drew Carlisle to come up here and do so now. Is there anyone out there? The big dogs.
All right. Well, the one story I guess I want to share is the National Jamboree, where a bunch of us boys, we went down to Washington, we went down to Virginia, Fort Apino, and spent a couple days there with like 60,000 other Scouts, something like that. Had a grand old time. I remember it was one night, we were all, the sun was kind of low on the horizon, it was starting to get laid out, everybody was just kind of in that hang around camp, just shoot the breeze, hang around, and this guy was near our camp. You know. We're hanging around camp, and this guy's going off. He's playing these bagpipes, and he's piping away. There's probably 4 or 5 of us: myself, Drew, Joe, maybe Ben. Andrew Bickford, I think, might have been there. Maybe not. We're all hanging around, we're talking to this guy, and there's this, I'm not going to say he was an old man, but he was an older gentleman. I don't know how old he was. He had this big gray beard and all this gray hair, and he had been in Scouts since, like, he'd been going to, like, every single national jamboree since they started. He was some geriatric guy on top of the road. He was a great guy, very funny guy. Drew's talking to him, Drew's joking around, making cracks, I think about how old he is. And then all of a sudden the guy's like, well, what's that at your feet right there? And all of a sudden he just zooms up and he picks Drew up and he throws him on his shoulder and he starts spinning him around. And then he sets him down and Drew's just like, what just happened? We're all just standing around laughing at him. It was one of those good times that I was really happy to share with him. The 50-miler, watching the bear climb up that tree and reach its head out. Out of all the bags, there's probably 10, 15, maybe like 8 or 9 bags tied together. All these bear bags are hauled up a tree. And out of all the bags there, he grabs Drew's bag, he drags it up into the woods, and he eats everything. I think he even ate the deodorant. Drew had nothing. He didn't have any of his food left. I think we had even got up in the woods like to look. We saw all his stuff, and Drew and I think were kind of creeping up in the woods, trying to get to it and see what was left. And then all of a sudden, the bear sticks his head back up, and he's still there. We didn't even see him. Scared the heck out of us. We all ran out. All Drew was left with that week was like some oatmeal and we had to savor everybody like a spoonful of all of our food. And it was great to share that. It was really grateful to share that experience with Drew. It was awesome. It made it real memorable.
Thanks. Is there anyone else who would like to say something? Did Jim still your story, Joe? No.
said previously that the troop was a bunch of sons to me. I had 3 boys in my den who became Eagles, but Drew was the first guy of the younger group who's become Eagle. And I was active in the troop. I was the advancement chairman when Drew was the bushy troop guide. I had the feelings at the time, said, Drew figured he didn't really need adults anymore. He was ready to sign off and so forth, and it took several conversations to convince him that, well, yeah, the adults really do kind of enjoy this, maybe he'd like to have something. So I backed up Mr. Sign's comments. By the time Drew got done being troop guide, he was one of the most confident scouts I knew. He was pretty confident going into it. But, I mean, I think we gave him responsibility, and he took the job so seriously. He was going to get this done. It didn't matter what other resources were available. He made a point of getting that troop guy, that troop guy job going. And he did a remarkable job of it. And I think I may have helped him out occasionally in terms of getting things signed and so forth. The other characteristic of Drew is Drew was a friend of my son. And in many cases, I treated Drew like he was a friend of mine. And although I was always Mr. Bickford to him, I was always joking with him like I was a friend of his. Right? And he's just that kind of warm, open personality that you just can be a friend with very readily, very quickly. And the age gap, I very easily forgot. I don't know that we ever dropped the mystery, but we still, I think we've often worked and joked together. And perhaps sometimes my jokes didn't make any sense to them because they were 30 years old. You know? But, you know, we had a very warm, friendly relationship. The other thing which was remarkable about Drew and my experience is he was the first guy who had the guts to put my name down for a reference on his equal application. Of course, he forgot to ask me whether I would do it. So when I got the letter from the troop, I was a little surprised that this guy who was always the most curious guy had managed to forget to do that. So I did mention that in the letter. But they passed him anyway. So Drew, congratulations. Great job. I probably knew it from the time you were troop guide that you were going to be here. But it was great to watch you get here. And it's great to share so many things with you. I don't have, the other thing was when I had to run a camporee, Drew made this. And, you know, when I asked for somebody, you know, some designs and so forth, he was right there. I think he had 3 of them, didn't you? Or was that the camporee? But I mean, he came up with this. We sat there voting on which one of Drew's designs we wanted to take. I mean, he just was the quality of the group. Now, I don't have the artistic talent that you do. But let me present to you the inaugural Beagle. I designed that myself. I've been doing macrame and knot tying for years and so forth, but I have never actually designed one. So I designed that. Here you go for your Christmas tree for the rest of your life.
Say something, Dan Allen.
In light of what Jim Nicholson was discussing, I really enjoyed the 50-miler that I went on with Jim and Joe and Andrew and who else was on it? Andy Bickford was on it. And one of the things after Drew's food was stolen, John Brisson and the rest of the troop went up the trail to take care of the rest of our food. And Drew and I stayed at camp to hold down the fort. And it wasn't really a harrowing experience, but one of the funny things was the bear walked right through our camp, walked right between us. Drew was up the trail maybe about 20 feet. And when he came back, he didn't realize that the bear had walked within 10 feet of him. And it swam across the river. And he pulled out his camera, but unfortunately, he tried to get a good shot, but unfortunately none of the pictures came out. So we have no proof that there was a bear at our campsite. But I really enjoyed that trip, and I enjoyed, I attended, I think, did two nights we tend to get together for something. I really enjoyed that experience.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Gillard.
Looking around the room here, I see, I don't recognize many of the scouts who are here because it's going on almost 4 years now that my youngest son is an Eagle Scout in that troop. But I've also, since that time, been able to participate in Eagle Boards of Review, and I was honored to participate in the Board of Review for Drew. Usually we don't have members associated with the troop from which the boy has been a member participating in that Board of Review, but this was one case. And as I say, I've been away for a few years, so I sort of remember Drew when he was still either Andrew or Andy, or his my less than respectful son Mark used to call him Carlisle. But Drew came in and sat down, and during these boards of review, we tried to test, tried to delve a little bit into the personality of the scout and try to make him think about things that might not actually be part of the scouting. And several times I had to look down on the sheet to see if this was the name of the person, because it was so different from what I had known of him 4 years earlier. He answered every question both thoughtfully but also quickly, which means he was very responsive, but also had given a lot of thought in a very short time. Very mature, and a tremendous combination of assertiveness, self-confidence, and humility, which is a tremendous combination and certainly a recipe for success in the future. At the end of the board review, the boy went out with the scoutmaster, and the group that was supposed to sign off this, we usually have discussions afterward, but the team was absolutely speechless. And those of you who participated or know Mr. Kahneman have had Mr. Kahneman speechless. It was